Welcome to Battlefield 5, starring Kratos, Nigel Thornberry, Furiosa, Naruto, an oddly historically accurate Mohawk guy. Hey guys, Drifter here. I hope you enjoyed that intro. For the rest of the video, we are going to be talking about the Battlefield 5 trailer, official reveal, and all of the facts that have come out about it. We will be talking about the gameplay elements a bit in the beginning, but the primary focus on this video is about history, social justice warriorism, the characters, my reaction, and the backlash from the Battlefield community. Briefly, on the topic of gameplay, there is a health system overhaul with tiers of health so that if you take damage down to a certain point, you can no longer recover above that. It's sort of a breaker, if you will, after you get down so many times. There's no more auto regen, so you have to manually heal yourself, and you have to actually physically pick up the health pack and touch yourself and heal with it. There's animations, no more magic healing bags. There's been reworks on the ammo system. You can now throw back grenades, catch them mid-air. When vehicles break down, you can tow them to new locations and use them as cover, repair. You can fortify locations. You can fortify with offensive things like machine gun nests with certain classes. There's new proning mechanics that allow you to spin around, look up in the air, and do things that remind me a lot of Rainbow Six Siege, how the guys kind of lay down with your feet in front of you. You see that in the trailer. Speaking of the trailer, the gameplay overall looks faster from the trailer. If I watch that, I would say that more looks like COD World War II kind of speed. It looks like a Call of Duty level of speed with the trailer. However, I've heard from YouTubers that have seen gameplay that it's more in line with traditional Battlefield pacing. There is grand operations, which are enormous operations that make regular operations look tiny. And finally, EA has announced no more Season Pass. Everybody just gets all the maps for free. I'm certain that there will be microtransactions because that's how pretty much every game is going now. But at least we all get the DLC for free. We all get the same maps, and player counts will be quite high. Now we've talked about the gameplay and the actual facts, let's talk about what you're actually here for, which is the social justice warriorism in the trailer. Personally, when I saw the trailer, I liked it. It looked fun, it looked fast-paced, it looked crazy, it looked like an alternate history World War II Battlefield game to me, and I tend to like games that have fun, diverse characters that have, they argue with each other, they talk. League of Legends, Overwatch, even the Specialist in Black Ops 3, you see the same thing in Rainbow Six. Whether or not it's historically accurate or, there's women soldiers and whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. Having characters that do things more than just sit there and be generic soldier cannon fodder number 5 make the game more fun for me. However, the Battlefield community probably would really disagree with me, and they did not like this trailer or reveal at all. The Battlefield subreddit nearly imploded, and I feel that the things they're frustrated about are valid. I'm not going to sit over here on my very, very high horse, a white stallion 18 feet above the ground, look down on all you peasants and say, get on my value system. Rather, there's reasons that they don't like the reveal. There's good reasons. Gameplay changes, the pacing of the trailer, the new trailer editing, the historical inaccuracies, but the one that the community seemed to focus on really, really hard was women. It was the feedback for women was rough. There is hate on just about every single social platform. If all the men in this game aren't back home working in factories, then I'm gonna be pissed. Go all the way, you pussies. Hashtag not real social justice. I did, it's all SJW nonsense and triggers everywhere. No wheelchair? Very offensive. Also, it seems rude to assume her gender. Speaking of gender, how many genders are in the game, and can genders be switched on respawn? The game comes with a couple of sensors that you attach to your temples. The sensors detect brainwave patterns that are analyzed to determine which genders you identify with at any given moment. Hashtag not my battlefield. And while nobody got physically hurt by the, we'll say, misogynism of the Battlefield community, it did force us all to look at some uncomfortable truths about general beliefs in our population, about the gamers, about, we'll say, young men in high school and middle school and early college and how they think about women. And it was unsettling, to say the least. Even if this group of people is a minority of gamers, and it definitely is, because gamers is almost everybody right now, and this still was a vocal minority, but it was still a large enough people to get a lot of traction for there to be news articles and for it to be very, very noticeable if you're a female gamer. One of the biggest and, I would say, fairest criticisms of people in the Battlefield community that didn't like the reveal was that it's not a historically accurate World War II game. Except, of course, for Mohawk Guy, who is surprisingly historically accurate. If you want a realistic, immersive, historically accurate experience that makes you feel like you're in Operation Market Garden, this game is not it. there were women that served in World War II, and there's a lot more than just, white men marching at each other going on. But there were no British female amputees fighting at Operation Market Garden alongside Katana Boys and the only black soldier that wasn't forced into segregated troops. I mean, that just didn't happen. Yes, there were definitely female soldiers in the French resistance. One of their leaders was female. In the Italian resistance and the Polish resistance, China and the United Kingdom were both starting to train female soldiers as backups near the end of the war. There were plenty of women that did gender swapping, concealed their identity, tried to hide and signed up. They did the same thing in World War I, the War of 1812. They've done that since the beginning of time. And Russia didn't give one flying fudgesicle about their citizenry. And they were more than happy to send women to the front lines to die just alongside all the men in the army. They had female elite snipers. They had female tankers. They had the Night Witches was an all-female bombing squadron, and they largely gave them suicide missions, which they completed. And it's kind of sad that once again, if we're going to put women in World War II for, we'll say, business reasons, they're surprisingly not political. We'll get to that in a little bit. Why do we have to miss out on all these badass Russian women? Russian women fought tooth and nail in World War II, and I feel that they really don't get credit for it. When it comes to the black troops, historically speaking, black soldiers did not fight alongside whites for the most part, except in France. If I remember correctly, France was so overrun, none of the other countries really wanted black soldiers for racist reasons, but France was like, you know what? We are sick and damn tired of Nazis. Send us every single black soldier you got. We'll take them all, and that's why there's a lot of black people in France. A lot of them just stayed there. You've got the infamous Tuskegee Airmen. There were black Germans, too, fighting for the side of Germany. I did my historical research on this for World War II. And there were tons of Chinese and Japanese Americans fighting in large numbers, so that was primarily on the Pacific Front, because you could get out of the internment faster if you volunteered. So yes, there was a lot of people around the world fighting, men, women, Chinese, Japanese, black, white, Arabic. It was literally a world war. You could not find one country, except of course Switzerland, hoarding all their Nazi gold in the mountains, that didn't contribute in some way, some life that was not affected, some person that didn't fight in World War II. But to get really technical and real about it, if you just want to be serious for a second, 99% of the Allied forces in Europe were white men, and 95% of the Allied forces that came to Europe from the United States were also white men. If I were to just pluck you up, send you back in time, and drop you on a random battlefield in World War II, there would be about a 99.8% chance you would land in a battlefield with two groups of white men trying to kill each other. And that, these days, isn't very marketable, unfortunately, which is where the changes come in. It's not that EA is based in California or Stockholm with the developers in DICE, and they're all a bunch of social justice warriors that sit around with pink hair and piercings and donate to Antifa and just think about how to take down America and how to bring down men and all this kind of nonsense that you'll read online. The simple version is that all of the historically accurate truths about World War II are uncomfortable. In America, we used the black soldiers that we sent primarily as cannon fodder. The same thing with the Chinese and Japanese. We sent them into horrible missions because we thought of them as expendable, and they're trying to earn their freedom anyway. Russia, good lord, the things they did. There was genocide in China. There was genocide, a Holocaust on the Jewish people. And everything about it was bleak. Millions upon millions of people died. Everybody suffered. Millions of people came back home with PTSD to broken families. So why not take all of this and just make it a little bit more ingestible, okay? The game is supposed to be fun to play and not soul-crushingly bleak. It's not supposed to be Battlefield, the game you boot up to be reminded about the horrors of humanity and the failures of diplomacy on a scale of which will make you want to throw yourself into a black hole. That's not the game that people are going to spend money to play. They want to play crazy fun shooter set in a kind of sort of World War II where you can drive tanks and shoot historical weapons and maybe pretend you're your grandfather for a few minutes. That's the game that people are going to spend money on, not let's learn about the Holocaust. Nobody wants to do that. So on top of all of this, studies have shown in gaming specifically that when a player can identify with their character, player retention goes up. The strongest predictor for whether you identify with your character or not, whether you feel connected to them, is simply their race, nationality, and gender. How they look, how they talk, where they're from. That's the biggest predictor. Of course, some people get attached to characters outside of that, but generally speaking, people like to play characters kind of from their hometown and kind of look like them. Most people, when they make avatars that kind of look like them as well. Increasing player retention increases profit. It just simply increases player count, increases marketability of the game, increases supply drops. Every single thing that you can do to increase player retention in a game is a good thing. And we gamers know how EA, Activision, Ubisoft, and every big game publisher works. They publish games to make money. They're big corporations. They like money. If they could make a game called Stabbing Babies in Their Sleep and it were going to be a guaranteed bestseller, they would make that. So making changes to a World War II game to add in a lot of diversity so that players can identify with the characters and makes more money makes sense to them. It also makes the game a bit less bleak. On a demographic note, the amount of female gamers is growing. It used to be almost exclusively male. The amount of female gamers is growing rapidly. Little girls now play a lot of games. And I think in like the next 10 to 20 years, it's going to be about 50-50 because gaming currently permeates every single race, every ethnicity, every culture, every income level, every gender. There's not one demographically unique group of people that you can point to on the planet, except maybe North Koreans, that aren't playing video games. And it's extremely popular in the disabled community as well, because if you're disabled, your social options are limited. So we'll do it the nice way like that. So video games allow you to do things and connect with people where you couldn't. So it's no surprise that almost every game ever for the last couple of years has had an insanely diverse group of characters. You can look at Overwatch, you can look at League of Legends, you can look at what Call of Duty's been doing with their characters for a very long time. Same thing in Rainbow Six Siege. They're from all over the world. They speak different languages, different colors, whatever. And it's not surprising to me at all that Battlefield decided to join this and do the exact same thing in order to increase player retention, make the game a little bit more fun, and so they might be politically motivated as well, but I personally don't care because the times are a-changin'. They're changing fast, and they will change fast enough to leave everybody else in the dust if you don't change with them. So when I play Battlefield 5, I'm not going to sit down and worry about the historical accuracies of Pirate Lady with robot arm, Nigel Thornberry, or how in the world this guy got a katana all the way from Japan to Operation Market Garden. I'm going to think about, do I enjoy this game? Is the gameplay good? Is it fun, funny, entertaining to play? And I'm probably going to think of it in my head as an alternate history Bad Company prequel and not worry about it very much. On a final note here, it's kind of crazy this time that YouTubers like JackFrags got all of the big intel and the actual official reveal had surprisingly little. I got invited to the reveal. I should have gone. I really should have gone and made videos about it, but I got tied up in the Black Ops 4 reveal and I would have had to fly straight from LA to London for this one, so that would have just been a little bit too much. Oh man, I'm jealous. It's weird that the info didn't come out through the official reveal, and I'm jealous that EA gave YouTubers those juicy nuggets and then salty because I didn't get them myself, but that's okay. I'll be there for EA Play. I'll be playing. I'll be offering my final opinion. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.